Dear Chosen One, what if I told you that the real enemy wasn't far away, wasn't a stranger, wasn't even someone you expected? What if I told you that the most dangerous spy in your life has been sitting close, wearing the face of family, speaking words of love while working as a shadowy double agent for the karmic system? This message is not for the faint of heart, because today I'm going to open your eyes to what heaven has been trying to show you all along. That sometimes the hand that feeds you also feeds your enemies. And when your spiritual rank rises, those hidden spies feel the threat, and they start working overtime to keep you chained in the name of loyalty, blood, and duty. You need to stay here, because what I'm about to reveal could change the way you see everything that's happened in your journey so far. The tension you've been feeling, the strange resistance when you try to step into your calling, the confusion that seems to come from nowhere. It's not random. It's the work of a secret enemy within, someone assigned spiritually, knowingly or not, to report your growth, your vulnerabilities, your dreams back to the karmic system that fears your rise. And now that your rank is shining too bright, they're losing control, and their hidden war against your light is falling apart. But you need to see the game to end the game. If this is already stirring something in your spirit, write in the comments, "I see the spy." Sit. Let this be the moment you declare your awakening to heaven, to the unseen realm, and to yourself. Don't forget to leave your like, subscribe, and activate the bell, because what I'm about to uncover will give you the clarity to break free from the invisible chains that kept you bound for too long. Stay until the end, because by the final moments of this message, you'll know exactly how to stand in your rank with peace and how to expose the hidden spy that can no longer hide from your light. From the earliest moments of your journey, Chosen One, there was someone in your family who watched you not with pure love, but with a hidden sense of rivalry. This wasn't always obvious. In fact, they hid it behind smiles, small gestures of support, and words that sounded like encouragement. But deep down, they were comparing themselves to you, measuring your light against their own sense of lack. And the more your light grew, even in childhood, even before you fully understood your rank, the more this secret enemy felt unsettled. They began to play the role of the shadowy double agent, reporting in the unseen, working in agreement with forces that feared your rise. All the while, they kept up the mask of loyalty, ensuring you never suspected the real battle unfolding behind closed doors. Spiritually, this hidden enemy didn't simply decide to act as a double agent overnight. The karmic system saw in them the perfect vessel, someone close enough to know your strengths and weaknesses, someone trusted enough to access your dreams, your fears, your most vulnerable moments. And so, they became an unknowing or willing participant in the war against your light. Their words became seeds of doubt. Their advice subtly pointed you away from paths that would elevate you. And their presence, cloaked in familial concern, became a tool of delay, confusion, and subtle sabotage. All of this was orchestrated to keep you small, to keep your light dim, so the system they served could maintain its grip. You felt it, didn't you? The unease that crept in when you shared your dreams with them, only to feel deflated afterward. The confusion that followed their well-meaning suggestions, which somehow always left you doubting yourself. The fatigue that set in after being around them. A fatigue that wasn't physical, but spiritual. These were the signs of the double agent's influence. Not through open attacks, but through the slow erosion of your confidence, your clarity, your connection to divine purpose. This wasn't love. This was spiritual warfare disguised as care. And it worked because you trusted the face wearing the mask. The karmic system fed off every doubt they planted, every delay they caused. Each time you hesitated because of their advice, each time you dimmed your light so they'd feel comfortable, the system gained strength. Your energy was siphoned, not through dramatic curses or loud betrayals, but through subtle agreements made in moments of vulnerability. The double agent's role was never to destroy you outright. It was to keep you in a spiritual sleep, to prevent you from seeing how powerful your light truly is. And as long as you didn't see, they could continue their work unchecked, hidden in plain sight, pretending to be your ally. And so, the war escalated quietly. The more your spirit tried to rise, the more the double agent tightened their hold. They offered more unsolicited advice, inserted themselves into decisions that weren't theirs to make, and questioned choices that aligned with your true path. And yet, because they wore the mask of family, of protector, of friend, you hesitated to see the truth. Your heart wanted to believe in their goodness. Your loyalty made you blind to the subtle betrayals, and the karmic system thrived on that blindness, knowing that as long as you couldn't see the enemy within, they could keep your light contained. But heaven always has a plan for the chosen. Slowly, your spirit began to sense the cracks in their mask. You noticed the inconsistencies, the words that didn't match the energy, the support that came with conditions, the concern that felt like control. Your light was growing stronger, and that strength made the shadows uncomfortable. The double agent found it harder to hide their true motives, and as your discernment sharpened, the first layer of deception began to fall away. This was the moment when heaven started revealing to you who was truly working against your rise, even while claiming to stand beside you. And when your light rose too high to ignore, the double agent shifted their tactics. They tried to draw even closer, to reassert their influence, to remind you of debts, obligations, shared history, anything to keep you tethered. But your soul had tasted freedom, and that taste made you question everything. You began to see that what they called love was often control. What they called protection was often fear of your growth. And what they called loyalty was often a demand for you to stay small so they wouldn't have to face their own shadows. The war was no longer hidden. It was unfolding before your eyes. The double agent within your family began to feel your light in ways they could no longer deny. What once was hidden under casual conversation and subtle manipulation started to break down under the weight of your awakening. Your victories, big or small, seemed to disturb their peace. Every time you took a step toward your calling, they reacted not with joy, but with a strange unease they could barely mask. The compliments they gave felt hollow. The support they offered came laced with warnings, conditions, or veiled doubts. And you, dear chosen one, started to feel the heaviness of their energy. It wasn't just tension between two people. It was the karmic system's grip slipping, and the SPIES mask beginning to crack. Their methods grew more desperate as your discernment sharpened. They began to remind you of your past mistakes, your vulnerabilities, your moments of weakness. Under the pretense of protecting you, they fed the system with information about your emotional wounds, wounds they sometimes helped create. Spiritually, they acted as a channel for interference, ensuring that the karmic forces knew exactly where to aim their attacks. And while they claimed to love you, their actions aligned with forces that wanted your light contained. The conflict wasn't just external anymore. It was a spiritual invasion disguised as family concern, and you began to feel it in your soul. The war wasn't loud, but its effects were profound. You noticed your clarity fading after conversations with them. You second-guessed your decisions, delayed actions that once felt right, and questioned dreams that once burned bright within you. These weren't coincidences. They were the fruits of a double agent's influence. And the karmic system thrived in that confusion. Every delay was a victory for them. Every moment you stayed small to keep peace was a chain they tightened around your destiny. The spy didn't need to curse you. Their words of concern did the work just as effectively, keeping you tethered to doubt. But your spirit began to rebel. The more you tried to honor the relationship, the more your soul cried out for freedom. And that cry couldn't be silenced. The double agent sensed the shift. They tried harder, offering more advice, inserting themselves into your choices, acting as if their wisdom was essential to your survival. But their advice felt heavy, their presence draining, and their concern controlling. The mask they wore became harder for them to hold. The more they tried to keep you small, the more obvious it became that their role was never to protect. It was to delay, to report, to control. And heaven made sure you saw it. You started having moments of clarity, a dream, a word from God, a sudden insight during prayer. The identity of the spy became undeniable. What you once tried to excuse, you could no longer ignore. You saw how their influence had shaped your path, not for your benefit, but for the convenience of the karmic system. And with that clarity came the first step toward freedom. You no longer saw them as simply misguided or overprotective. You saw them as what they truly were, a spiritual agent working against your divine rise, whether knowingly or blindly. That truth changed everything. The double agent, sensing your awakening, grew anxious. They tried to pull you back in with emotional hooks, guilt, obligation, memories of shared struggles. They reminded you of all they'd done for you, hoping to make you question your right to rise without their permission. But your spirit had tasted truth, and no amount of guilt could erase what you now saw. The war had shifted. No longer was it about external control. It was about your internal decision to break free, to see, to rise. And the spy could feel that their time was running out. The power they once held was slipping through their fingers. Heaven began to reveal how deeply the karmic system relied on this hidden agent. Without their access to your vulnerabilities, the attacks grew weaker. Without their influence to cloud your judgment, your clarity sharpened. The double agent's usefulness to the system was fading, and in their desperation, they tried every tactic they could to regain control. But their methods were now exposed. You saw their manipulation for what it was. You felt the drain of their presence, the weight of their words, the cost of their influence. And with that awareness, you began to reclaim what was always yours: your light, your rank, your freedom. The moment of divine confirmation arrived, chosen one. What had been growing in your spirit, the suspicion, the unease, the inner knowing, was now undeniable. Heaven lifted the final veil, and you saw the hidden enemy for who they were. Maybe it was a dream that left no doubt, or a word in prayer that echoed too deeply to ignore, or simply the accumulation of signs you could no longer brush aside. The double agent's mask shattered in your sight. You realized that the delays, the confusion, the heaviness that followed their presence were not accidents. They were strategies. And now that you saw the truth, the grip they held on your light began to weaken. The karmic system sensed the shift instantly. Without the agent's veil to shield their operations, their access to your energy was breaking apart. So they lashed out in desperation. Spiritual attacks intensified. Confusion tried to creep back in. Old wounds resurfaced as they sought any crack through which to enter. But this time, you saw their game. You recognized the tactics. The fear that once kept you compliant was gone. Your eyes were open, and what had power in the dark lost its strength in the light. This was the beginning of their collapse. Not because they stopped fighting, but because you stopped feeding what kept them alive. You made the decision that changed everything. You stepped back, not in anger, not in cruelty, but in clarity. You began to withdraw your energy from the spies' games, to stop explaining yourself, to stop negotiating your light for their comfort. Spiritually, this was the cutting of invisible cords that had bound you for too long. And as you stepped into this authority, the system that depended on those cords began to crumble. The double agent could feel it too. Their influence faded. Their words no longer carried the weight they once did. The chains they used were breaking, link by link, as you reclaimed your soul's freedom. And as clarity settled in, you saw the deeper truth. The double agent wasn't truly strong. Their power was borrowed, granted by your belief in the mask they wore. Once that belief shattered, their role collapsed. You saw that their control had always relied on your blindness, on your loyalty to the illusion they projected. And now, with vision restored, you understood that they couldn't own your light, because it was never theirs to hold. That was the truth the karmic system dreaded, the truth that set the collapse in motion. You were never bound by them. You were bound by what you didn't see. And now, you see it all. The taste of freedom came with both relief and pain. Relief, because the weight that had pressed on your soul began to lift. Pain, because you had to face the betrayal, the loss of the illusion of safety, the recognition that someone so close had worked against you. But this pain was holy. It was the kind of pain that cleanses, that opens space for something pure to rise. The double agent's collapse wasn't just their fall, it was your rise. The karmic system lost its main access point, and in that loss, its strength withered. The war wasn't over, but the tide had turned. And you, chosen one, stood on ground they could no longer claim. The karmic empire that once seemed so unshakable began to implode. Without the spy feeding them your vulnerabilities, their weapons dulled. Without the inside access, their strategies failed. The double agent, stripped of their borrowed power, stood exposed not just to you, but to themselves. The mask they wore for so long crumbled in their own eyes, and you saw them, not as a monster, but as someone who chose the wrong side, who became a tool for a system that could never truly win. And in that seeing, you took your power back, because the truth stripped the enemy of the only weapon they ever had, your unawareness. And then, as if heaven itself breathed new clarity into your soul, you felt the shift in the unseen. The doors that had been shut began to open. The clarity that had been clouded began to sharpen. The peace that had felt impossible began to settle. The war wasn't about external enemies anymore. It had always been about this: reclaiming your light, your voice, your right to rise. And now, with the spy's influence broken, with the karmic chains falling, you stood free. And in that freedom, the path ahead glowed brighter than ever. A path that was yours from the beginning, waiting for this very moment. Freedom, chosen one, is not merely about walking away from what once held you captive. It is about understanding why you stayed, why the chains fit so snugly, why the illusion felt like home for so long. In this space of clarity, you begin to see that the double agent was never the true enemy. The real battle was always within, the part of you that doubted your right to rise, that feared the cost of truth, that clung to the comfort of familiar chains. And now, standing in your authority, you realize that the spy's power ended the moment you saw through your own inner fog. This is where your real strength is born. In the light that no longer negotiates with the dark, you come to understand that setting boundaries is not cruelty, nor is it betrayal. It is the highest form of love, first for yourself, then for those you are called to serve. The karmic system thrived on your belief that loyalty meant silence, that love meant tolerating what drained you. But heaven's truth reveals that protecting your light is obedience to God, not rebellion against family. And as you integrate this wisdom, you stop apologizing for your freedom. You stop explaining your peace. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never designed to contain the vastness of your soul's assignment. This is what the war was for, to teach you this. The collapse of the karmic system did not happen because you fought harder. It happened because you stopped fighting the wrong battles. You stopped trying to prove your worth to those determined not to see it. You stopped pouring your energy into convincing the double agent of your goodness your loyalty, your heart. Instead, you turned inward. You chose peace over performance, truth over approval. And in that choice, the enemy lost access. The doors they used to enter closed, not by force, but by clarity. Your light became a fortress no longer willing to be dimmed for anyone's comfort. The double agent, now exposed and powerless, faces their own reckoning. Their alignment with the karmic system brought them temporary advantages, but it cost them their integrity, their peace, their connection to what was real. And you, chosen one, see them now with new eyes, not as a villain to be hated, but as a lesson that shaped your strength. You see how their betrayal carved out in you a depth of discernment, a power of vision that no enemy can ever take away. And in this seeing, you are free, not because they changed, but because you did. The spy no longer defines your story. Your light does. You begin to walk differently now. Your silence speaks volumes. Your boundaries create waves. Your peace unsettles the systems that thrived on your confusion. The karmic forces that once fed off your delays find no entry point, because the doors are sealed with truth. The spy's voice no longer echoes in your mind. The guilt they planted withers in the light of your understanding. And with every step, you embody the rank heaven assigned you, a rank that was never theirs to question, never theirs to steal, and never theirs to manage. This is your time to walk in it fully. And as you look back, you see that the true victory was not in exposing the spy, but in reclaiming yourself. The double agent's collapse was only the outward sign of what had already happened within you. You broke the contract that bound you to their control. You severed the cord that tethered your light to their approval. And in doing so, you freed not only yourself, but the generations that come after you. This is the legacy of a chosen one who dares to see, dares to rise, dares to protect what God placed within. The spy thought they could contain your light. Instead, they became the reason it shines brighter. The karmic system may try again. New agents may arise. Old tactics may resurface. But now you see the game. Now you recognize the pattern. Now you walk in a truth so solid that no whisper of doubt can shake it. And as you continue forward, you do so not as a victim of betrayal, but as a master of your light. The war revealed who they were. More importantly, it revealed who you are. And that revelation is the true victory. This is the wisdom that guards you, the clarity that frees you, the peace that no enemy can touch. And now, chosen one, you stand at a threshold you were always meant to cross. The weight of the hidden war no longer rests on your shoulders. The energy that once felt so heavy, so confusing, so draining, has lifted. What remains is peace, not the kind handed to you by others, but the kind that rises from within when truth takes root. You feel it in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, a lightness that no longer carries the burden of trying to save those who were assigned to spy on your soul. This peace wasn't given by them, so it can't be taken by them. It was forged in the fire of your awakening, and it belongs to you now, sealed by heaven. The beauty of this victory is that you didn't need to destroy anyone to win. You didn't need revenge or loud declarations or dramatic confrontations. The truth did the work for you. The moment you saw clearly, the moment you stepped fully into your light, the game ended. The double agent lost their grip, the karmic system lost its access, and you regained what was always yours. This is the quiet power of the chosen one, to win by standing in truth, by refusing to negotiate with darkness, by choosing peace over performance. And now, as you walk forward, you do so with a strength that speaks without words, a light that no longer dims for anyone. If this message has stirred your spirit, I want you to declare it now in the comments. My light is no longer theirs to dim. Let that be your seal, your spiritual contract with heaven, your statement of freedom that echoes in the unseen. And as you do, don't forget to leave your like as a symbol of agreement with this truth. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the messages that will continue to strengthen and protect your path. And to those who support this mission through Buy Me a Coffee, thank you. Your generosity helps us keep this light shining for all who need it. If you feel called to join that support, the link is in the first pinned comment. Before you go, don't stop here. Watch the next video that's on your screen right now. It was put there for a reason, because your spirit knows what it needs next. Thank you for being here and for walking this path with courage. And always remember, your light was never theirs to dim, and your position was never theirs to question.